What makes an inspired woman? Inspired women stand their ground and speak their minds. We are the kind of women that bring about change and transformation in a massive way. Inspired women seek out ways to shine the light on others in our quest to serve and to lead. Inspired women are bold, courageous, joyful, and brilliant leaders in our families, our businesses, and in our communities. That's why we, as inspired women, can stand up and say, we live amazing lives and we love it. And we are so ready to pass that inspiration on to you so that you too can become an inspired woman leading an amazing life. Welcome to Inspired Women Amazing Lives podcast. Welcome to Inspired Women Amazing Lives podcast, where we seek to inspire women to thrive and to own their own businesses on their own terms. And I have a guest today that has done that. She is a life coach, Miss Leah Carrillo Rivera. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Leah is a wife, a mom of two, a pediatric nurse by her background, and currently a life coach for parents raising little ones, ages 3 to 10 years old. That's pretty interesting, a life coach for little ones. Love it. But also, she's a business consultant for nurses who are starting in their entrepreneurial journey. I love that you're using everything that you have, Leah. And you don't look old enough to have two kids. Okay. So, Leah, if you would, can you share with us your story? What has brought you to the point where you are this life coach working with children?
Sure. So I'm going to start with the pediatric nurse background. I've been a pediatric nurse for 6 years now at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. So we get the sickest of the sick kids there. And it was okay at first because I always get comments, I don't know how you could be a nurse for kids. It's so sad. It's so depressing. And at first it was okay. I just focused on the kids and what they needed and their needs. But then when I had my own son, I started to take it on emotionally. But I didn't know that. I'm the type to just keep going and keep going. But I guess as I was working, I took on the emotional stress of not only the kids being sick, but also the parents. Seeing the parents basically live at the hospital day in and day out, not really get a break. It really got to me. And being pregnant with my first while being a nurse, it just started to take a toll on me. And it didn't really hit me until my son was 2 or 3 years old. I was a night shift nurse. So one, I had a toddler and I wasn't really sleeping from that. And then I was a night shift nurse. So I would work for 12 hours, come off work, and then I would take care of him. Maybe I would sleep for an hour or so, but most of the times not, and then take care of him and then go back to like normal schedule if I could, if I didn't work the next night. So I'm pretty sure that's the major factor in me getting sick. Kimberly mentioned that I got sick before, and that's what really started my journey. So I was on 20 prescription medications, 15 herbal medications just to feel normal. Basically how the symptoms started is one night shift, I started getting a really bad headache, a stabbing pain on the back side of my right head, and then a stabbing pain on my right stomach. And I've always had migraines growing up, so I didn't think it was anything unusual. But the thing that was unusual for me was the stabbing stomach pains. I chose to go to work anyways because I am a people pleaser or recovering people pleaser, and I hate letting people down. We were short, and so I didn't want my charge nurse to send me home early. But she said, she saw me and she saw that I looked like I was going to pass out. I looked super pale. And she said that I needed to go home. I begged her to let me stay, even though in the bathroom I was already throwing up. I was already feeling dizzy, but I begged her to let me stay because I knew we were so short. And she said, fine, you can stay, but you have to go to the emergency room after, which I did. And they did all the tests and they couldn't find anything. And that's, I think, the reason why I didn't want to go, because I'm used to going to the doctor ever since I was 14 as a teenager and telling them my symptoms, and they would tell me, oh, it's nothing, it's normal, just take this medication. So I was just tired of that, and I kind of knew that's what they would say, so I didn't want to go. But unfortunately, the symptoms kept getting worse and worse. Every day after that moment, I received, or I started feeling a new symptom. So numbness and tingling on my hands, my arms, my feet, up to my legs, up to my back, and then burning sensations where even laying down to sleep, I felt like my whole body was on fire.
Wow.
I would have like TMJ pain. I would have heart palpitations or heart drops, chest pain, nausea, vomiting, eventually everything with blood. So nausea, vomiting with blood, and then having bloody stool, having my period every week. Hopefully this is
Oh,
not too TMI for anybody, because us
no,
nurses,
no,
we
it's all
were,
women here. All women. Yes, you're fine.
yeah. And I just mentioned that because the doctors the whole time kept saying nothing was wrong until I was bleeding everywhere. And when I was bleeding, even then they did all the tests, but they said all we could see is inflammation, but we don't know where it's coming from, so just take more meds. So that's how I
Oh,
ended up with the box full of meds. I used to have this box of meds that I would show my clients. I actually started as a health coach before I became a life coach. So I'd show my clients the box of meds to show them that this is true, this is where I came from. But 2 years ago, I decided to get rid of the box because they didn't want to look back anymore and just move forward.
yeah.
So that's really where it all started. And then I became a health coach, not by choice. I think it was just because people knew my story and they would ask how I healed myself without the medication and how I weaned off the medication. And then now I just do like a cleaner diet. I do my mindset work. I also go to chiropractor, acupuncture, so other supplemental things outside of Western medicine. And then from there, I became a life coach. So it's been kind of a journey, but it all started from being sick, working as a pediatric
Wow. That is an amazing story. Now, couple things I wanted to say in there
nurse.
is that I have never, I'm one of those people that would say, oh my gosh, I don't know how you work with kids like that all the time. I couldn't do it. When I say that, Leah, I really couldn't do it because I already know my body would take on all of their pain. That, you have to kind of know yourself, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I just know that my body would. Um, so I really couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to handle it. But here's the deal. Um, it is just amazing. And I've heard people say this about people that work in that industry, that their body really does absorb so much of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it really does. And I have an interesting story about that, actually. So I told you I did all the Western interventions, the medications, the treatments that they wanted me to do, but nothing was working. They just kept finding more inflammation. So I decided to take it into my own hands, and I actually flew to Alabama to see a holistic doctor. She said she specialized in all the symptoms that I was feeling and did all these holistic treatments. So that was my very first time ever experiencing anything holistic. And for me, at first, I thought it was weird, to be honest. I thought it was woo-woo, like, what am I walking into? And being a nurse, you just learn everything that science has to offer you, textbook, materials. You don't learn about energy. You don't learn about the healing properties of foods and things like that. We only had one nutrition class, and that nutrition class was maybe like the BS class. We just like skipped through it just to get an easy A, and then moved on to the rest of our stuff. And so now I regret not paying attention in that class, because food can really heal you. But basically, she had me do all these holistic and energetic work. And then when I came back to California, she referred me to her teacher. So she was actually taught by someone here in Orange County. And that holistic doctor, she used to be a nurse as well, a pediatric nurse as well, but she became a holistic doctor because of her findings. And when she first met me, she asked me immediately, are there two patients that you're holding on to? And I didn't tell her anything. She didn't know much of my story. She just could feel it. And she said, you're holding on to two patients that you probably feel like you had something to do with, maybe their death or what the outcome ended up being. And she was right. I could think of two patients immediately. And she did her treatments, and then we did acupuncture at the end. During the acupuncture session, I literally felt two beings like come out of me. It was the weirdest feeling, but I could feel it float out of me. And I thought it was just me, but before that, she treated each of my family members. So with energy work, you can treat your family members and your energy fields, I guess, together. So each family member came because at this point we were desperate. We were just trying to find anything that would help me. So my dad came with me to treat our energy fields. And my dad said as soon as he got treated and left the room, he also felt like a spirit or being lifted. And he asked me if I felt the same thing. At the time I didn't, but then when she did the patient work, I did feel it. So I don't know, it's very interesting. And you do end up taking on these things energetically, emotionally. I don't know how to really explain it, but.
Absolutely. Leah, I didn't believe in that either. At least you live in California. You guys are really progressive out there. I came from the South, and I still live in the South. We're just not as progressive. And so I didn't know anything about that. But when I moved to Atlanta, I was experiencing such bad allergies. Oh my God, my allergies were affecting my life. And I just really did not have a good life balance. And so someone recommended a holistic doctor to me, and I went there, and he did some acupuncture on me. And it was weird because it was the first time I had experienced it. And so I wish I had continued the treatment, but I didn't because it was so weird to me. But one of the things that he told me, I'll never forget this. I was laying there on the table, and he had put the needles in, and it didn't hurt or anything. It was just weird because it was my first time feeling it. And he said, "You're holding on to a lot of grief." And when he said that, I immediately started crying. I don't even know why, but I immediately started crying. And he said, did someone very close to you die? But I said, yeah, but that was my dad. My dad had died when I was 14. Here I was 30, you know, it was like so many years later. And he was like, you're still holding on to that grief. And I kind of understood when I left what he was talking about, because I could kind of like feel it. So I guess I had not gotten enough treatments to the point like where you were, where I could feel that release, where that spirit had left. But I believe you. I believe that is what happens, because he said you're holding, and as long as you're holding on to it in your body, it's going to always affect you some way because you're holding on to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a minimum of at least 10 treatments in Alabama and at least 15 treatments here in California that I had to go through at least. And then from there, I could continue as I wanted to, but I don't live too close to the OC, so it kind of became a draining experience to drive there, drive
Right.
back.
Right.
But I did the minimum that they wanted me to, and I do feel a great difference. So yeah, after one session, it's hard to feel a difference.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah. So back then I thought all of that was woo woo then, but now I know better. Oh gosh, I've met so many energy healers and workers, and it's just amazing and we are just one big ball of energy, right? They teach you that in nursing school, right? So
not exactly.
not exactly, huh?
No.
Western medicine, so different.
It is.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. So how do you now currently work with your clients based on all of the things you've learned?
Mm-hmm. So based on everything, like I said, I started as a health coach and I was just doing it for free because before I found holistic medicine, I literally just prayed and I believe in God. So I prayed to God and I said, if you help me find the way I can heal so I could take care of my family, take care of my kids, then I will give back and just help other people find their healing. And almost immediately, like everything started happening. I found the holistic doctor. I found all the treatments and the help that I needed. So then that just replayed in my mind. I need to give back and help the way I was helped. So I started as a health coach because of that, and I was just doing it for free. I didn't even think it was going to be a business or anything. And then after doing health coaching, I realized that, yes, people are motivated for change in the beginning. Let's say they want to do the health coaching to lose 5-10 pounds, but also help with their blood pressure or something. They're motivated for the first month or to get that instant result of their blood pressure decreasing and going to normal. But then after they get that result, they go back to their old ways.
Yes.
And that's what I was having a hard time with health coaching, is how do I get these people to be committed to their change and not just get the one-time result and then go back. So that's when I was thinking about life coaching. I knew it had a lot to do with their mindset. So my friend was taking a life coaching course, so I decided to take it with her. And that's where I learned so much about how our mindset really affects our decisions, our emotions, our actions. And that's when it hit me that the reason people weren't sticking to their choices or sticking to the long-term choices of changing their health was because of their mindset at the time. They just wanted that instant gratification, but they didn't want the long-term changes. So now I mostly do life coaching. And then with the life coaching, I realized that I still really love working with kids, being the pediatric nurse. And I don't know if you know this, but about 46 to 48% of kids end up having a chronic illness by the time they're 18. So almost half of our population. And if a lot of it has to do with the environment that they grow up in, whether that's the food that they're fed, whether that's just the mindset that they're given from their parents or from whoever's taking care of them. And so I just thought maybe I can make a difference by doing something for kids in the community before they end up in the hospital or before they end up with a chronic illness or a mental illness that gets out of hand when they're a teenager. And so that's why specifically I chose the ages 3 to 10, because before the ages of 7 or 8, that's when our subconscious mind is still forming. And I feel like if they can learn these things early on, then they can bring it into their adult life or adulthood. And at the time when I was doing all of this, my son was 3 years old. And I did all the practices with him. And to this day, he still does journaling. He still does gratitude. He'll even go out to like some random stranger and ask them, oh, what are you grateful for today? And things like
Oh,
that. And
wow.
so,
Very nice.
and he's turning 6 in a couple
Nice.
weeks. So that's why seeing it with him and seeing the changes in him of from when I was sick and he was just throwing temper tantrums, he was just not having it. And I thought at first it was, oh, your typical 2-3-year-old, but really it was the environment he was in. He always saw his mom gone, or he always saw his mom in the hospital. And so of course he's going to feel abandoned, neglected, and throw a temper tantrum. So that's why I wanted to change that real quick before he turned 7 or 8 years old. And then I just kept it at 10 years old because that's when they're old enough to kind of get it even more. Because kind of when they hit 12 to 13, they kind of like to do their own thing and they become that teenager or preteen. So I want to influence them and share this knowledge with them before that age where they think they know it all.
Yes, absolutely. That's really, really nice. Yeah. And it's great that your son is still practicing that. That's nice.
Mhm.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So, I know one of the precepts that you have and your business is built around that. Like you said, everything is affected by mindset. And that is very true. Everything starts with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That your mindset overall affects your health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, tell us just a little bit more about how you have seen that manifest itself over the time that you've been a nurse and your journey with life coaching and health coaching, about how your mindset really affects your health.
Of course. So in the hospital, before I even knew about personal development or personal growth, in the hospital, I just noticed that the kids who had a positive mindset and who knew that they could heal, they knew that they can get over whatever they were brought in for, they just had better outcomes versus the kid that didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to stay in bed. They just overall had a negative attitude about the whole experience. It took longer for them to heal. So that's in the hospital. When I learned more about it, I actually heard this podcast by Lewis Howes and Marissa Peer. She's a hypnotherapist. She mentioned that the words I am are the 2 greatest words in the world. So
Yes.
anything you say after I am is what you will become or what you are. And so when I started noticing that, I started noticing my own language, and I would say things like, I am exhausted, I can't stand this, I'm tired. Then of course I'm going to feel more tired, more exhausted. Or if in business wise, if I say I'm a failure, I can't do this, just anything in the negative, of course, whatever you focus on, you're going to manifest. Versus if you have more positive things after that I am. So I am creative, I am focused, or I am whatever positive thing you want to change that into, then again, whatever you focus on, you will become. So after hearing that, and she even mentioned that she's seen it, since she's been a hypnotherapist for a while, she's seen it in other forms where it actually manifests in physical ailments. So when you keep saying, I can't stand my family, I can't stand them, they are so annoying, they bug me. When you keep saying, I can't stand, she said eventually that person is not able to stand physically. And
Mm-hmm.
so I looked back at my own experience and when I was sick, and eventually I became bed rest too. I couldn't stand, I couldn't even open water bottles, I couldn't open a doorknob, I couldn't drive on my own. So basic needs I couldn't do by myself. And when I think about it, I was living in a house with my mom, my dad, my brothers, my grandmas, both grandmas, and then me, my husband, and our son. So it's 10 people in the house. And if you can imagine all that energy, everybody has different opinions. Everybody's telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And so literally, I possibly couldn't stand like living in that environment. And eventually, at the same time, I couldn't stand. And so I have another example for that is my future sister-in-law. My brother and her have been dating for the longest time, and they were having family issues with her brother. And the parents would always talk to her about it, but she didn't want to hear the drama because she had her own things going on. And so eventually she couldn't hear. And we don't know, there's no evidence why.
Wow.
There's no test or anything that shows what happened or why all of a sudden she couldn't hear anymore. I think on her, I can't remember if it's her left or right ear. But I told her to go to the holistic doctor that I went to in Orange County, and that doctor said that she feels like she couldn't hear because she literally didn't want to hear it anymore from her family.
Don't want to hear it.
So her brain and her ear shut down. And so that's what I mean by our mindset really affects our physical health, whether we realize it or not, because I didn't realize these things until way after.
Wow. That's powerful. And that is so true. I am statements. I love it. And what I do with my I am statements, Leah, is I say them and then I release them. You know, I kind of say them. I had a lady one time who was an energy healer, and she told me that, a lot of people like to say it repeatedly, but when you say it and you release them in the universe and you release them to God, the expectation is that you're telling God, this is what I am. And I know that's what I am. And I know that's how you see me. And then you just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And it manifests itself. So I say my I am statements and release them. I believe in God too. No, and I can talk about that on my show, honey, because it's my show.
Perfect.
So yeah. So she is so right. I am statements are so powerful. And we all do it, Mm-hmm. I caught myself just yesterday or day before saying, I am so tired. And then I had to say, oh, no, I'm not. I'm not tired.
I know it's really hard. It's such a practice to continue. And even my son will correct me. He'll say things like, I thought we don't say words like I can't, or I won't, or I shouldn't. And he's 5. So if a 5-year-old is correcting me, I definitely need to watch my words.
But that is great. The gratitude that you have instilled in him is amazing at that age. And trust me, he will grow up always having that sense of gratitude first. And that will make a big difference in his life. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. That's a wonderful gift you've given him, really.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, Leah, let's take a quick break and I'll be right back. And when we come back, Leah will share about one of her big visions that she is carrying out right now. We'll be right back. Hey, Kimberly Wiggins with Inspired Women, Amazing Lives here. Have you been dying to share your voice in a much bigger way to make even greater impact at what you do? Are you holding yourself back from being more visible in your niche? No surprise here. I know many people who are doing the same thing every single year and wishing they hadn't. You must decide to take action right now. Nothing beats that. So are you ready to share your voice in a big way? I'm offering you the opportunity to finish off 2019 like never before, so you can look back and finally see the people you have impacted and the lives you have changed. Podcasting can help you do that. It will allow you to express yourself and be heard in a much greater way so that your message can add value to the lives of others. Isn't that what you really, really want? Check out my Podcasting Made Easy program right now at inspiredwomenamazinglives.com. Let's shift things for your life and business before 2019 is over. Use the code POD for 50% off the Podcasting Made Easy. Okay, we're back. Alrighty, so Leah, you have got a big vision, and with that big vision, you have created an amazing product. Tell us about your journal and planner. I so love that.
Yes. So when I discovered personal development and personal growth, I was going to various conferences just to learn more, because my family, my friends, just my circle of people, they weren't into that stuff. So I needed to expand and find my own tribe. So
Right.
when I went to one of the conferences, there was a speaker and he talked all about gratitude and how you should have a morning routine and all of this stuff. And I had no idea what a morning routine was at the time. And to me, all gratitude meant was to say thank you every time someone did something nice for you, or that's just what I thought at the time. So, what he explained was every morning you should start your morning with gratitude so that it can set the rest of your day up for success and whatever that means for you. And you should ask yourself 3 questions. So, what are you grateful for? What are you excited about? And who are you going to bless today? And
Mhm.
start your morning answering those 3 questions and actually blessing that person. So if that means you wanted to send somebody a text message just saying how much they mean to you or how much you love them, do that before you do anything else. Or if it is buying somebody coffee behind you, do that again before you continue your day. And the reason he said those 3 is because gratitude, obviously that one is kind of self-explanatory. It just brings you in a more positive light and higher vibration. Being excited, the one thing you're excited for is, he says that everyone thinks about the work that they have to do or their to-do list, and it just puts you in a negative mood right away. And so
Right.
thinking of something that you're excited about just again brings your vibration and energy higher. And then the last thing is blessing somebody and just giving back. He said, the more that you give, the more that you'll get. So to genuinely give to other people and bless other people, and then you'll receive the blessings back. And so when he said that, I came home right away and implemented. I got a blank journal and I did it with my son. So this is literally where everything started, especially doing it with my son. And we would think of the things we're grateful for, what we're excited about. And, you know, as a kid, he just thinks of, he's excited to play outside or like just those
Yes.
small things. But I also wrote in my journal. And then from those 3 questions, I expanded my morning routine more, where I would set a time for meditation and prayer. And then I would set a time to exercise and eat a healthy meal. And eventually it became just this morning routine that I always did before I did anything else. And again, I wrote everything in a plain journal. And then one day I had a dream, and things come to me in dreams for some reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't listen to them and bad things end up happening. So now I've learned to
To
listen to
listen.
it more. And so I had a dream that I was going to create this journal for people for establishing a morning and evening routine. And my mind, I was like, what do you mean I'm going to make a journal? Like I just wanted to do this for myself, for my own self healing. But that dream kept repeating, or just that thought in my mind kept repeating. So eventually I just created it, and I created a free version, a PDF online. I did a challenge with people to see if it would even help anybody. And I got a lot of great feedback. And so I just went for it. And then when the journals came, just these dreams keep coming about now these workshops for kids. And eventually long term I want to open a school for kids. And it's kind of weird saying that, because I mean, I just my whole life I plan to be a pediatric nurse, to be an NP, and just work my 3 days, come home, and spend time with family. Like not even anything about opening up a school for kids. And so my big vision for the school is more of practices and skills that they can learn that you can use for life. That's not necessarily taught in school today. So like the meditation, the mindfulness, gratitude. I haven't thought it out fully, but I just know that I want to be able to teach these kids at a greater level than I am now.
I love it. Leah, let me tell you why I love it so much, because that's a part of my big vision too. So I feel like you and I are going to be partners one day. Even though we're far away from each other, we're going to be partners. And here, because I feel the same way, that I want to create an academy, a development, a leadership development academy for kids, so that they learn all the things that you just talked about, including leadership and finances and money and personal development at an early age, so that when they get out, they're equipped and they learn gratitude and mindfulness and meditation and how this all plays into their life. So it is needed. Girl, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I agree with you. I think, learning all the traditional subjects in school is great. There's some other things that you need to learn. I have no affinity to, the physical education programs in the school system, but why not try yoga? You know? And I think that it would put students in such a calmer state throughout the day anyway, that it would cut down on some of the disruptions and the problems they have in classrooms, because these students are starting the day with meditation and yoga, and you know what I mean? So,
and some schools are actually trying to include mindfulness in their curriculum. But the problem is that the teachers have to create it themselves. So they're not being supplied with what to teach. They have to create it themselves. And the teachers are already really busy just doing the day-to-day stuff that they have to accomplish to match the curriculum. So I actually spoke in a classroom about mindfulness and gratitude, and the kids, I was so nervous because I thought the kids would know nothing about it and it would just fly over their heads. But before I started, I asked them if they knew what it meant. A lot of the kids knew the meanings of the words and what it meant to be mindful and grateful, but they just never really practiced it. So we showed them different practices. And afterwards, some of the kids came to us and hugged us and said it was amazing. And some of them even revealed that they were having trouble at home. And we were able to get them the help that they needed. But it was amazing, but it was also sad to see that there's a great need, and yet they're forcing teachers to create it when they don't have time. And so I definitely see the need in it. Just need to get there somehow.
And that's great that you were able to do that with the school. You should think about your platform doing more of that in schools. Seek that out and do more of that in schools. And one of the things, because this is the thing we don't normally realize about children, is that in those first early years of children's lives, they're very open to life. They're open-minded, they're impressionable, they are really open to life. So it's the things that we are putting in there at that very early age that really carries them throughout, just like you did with your son with the gratitude. And so just being able to interject that at an early age, the mindfulness, so that, like you said, there were some students there that were going through things. But once you start interjecting mindfulness and some of the other practices at an early age, no matter what the parents are doing in the house, the students will have a tool that they can use to get themselves mindful and centered and not have to worry about all the things that their parents are doing in the house. Because I believe, especially in some of those younger grades, that's one of the problems with students in school, is because the parents had so much going on, the student can't go to school and concentrate.
Mm-hmm. And that's what some of the teachers said, that were the issue is they have a hard time teaching even the curriculum subjects because their students are suffering because they aren't even getting the basic needs from their parents or their environment. So it's a vicious cycle that I'm trying to find a solution to with all of these things that I'm doing. But yeah,
I love it.
it's really sad. But
Yeah,
at the
I
same
love it.
time, I feel like we can do something about it.
Yes, I have the utmost respect for teachers. When I see teachers, one of my best friends is a teacher, and she used to teach kindergarten. Now I think she teaches first grade. But you know what I tell them? Thank you for your service, just like I would a service member,
Yes.
a military member, because I feel they do a service that is so unsung. They don't get any thanks for it. My niece used to be assistant principal at a school, and she's gone back into the classroom. And my niece has told me all about how much money she spends every year out of her own
Mm-hmm.
pocket, and she doesn't even get paid
Mm-hmm.
that much. So
Yeah.
I always tell them, thank you for your service. They're amazing. They spend 8 hours with our children at least. They're
Mm-hmm.
an amazing group of leaders.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that journal and planner that you have. Now, you also have a Serenity for Kids workshop that you do. Tell us about that.
So the Serenity for Kids workshop kind of stemmed from speaking in the classroom. We just saw that the feedback was so positive that it was needed. And so now in my small community here, we're just hosting workshops every month. So this last month in January was about vision boards and dreaming big, because not everyone knows what a vision board is unless you're in the entrepreneurial world, I feel like. And then this month for February is all about self-love, kindness, compassion. So there are different topics that eventually I want to implement at this school that we're talking about,
Nice.
and just testing it out and seeing what the kids really like, what they learn from it. And the workshops are actually meant for kids and parents, so or
That's nice.
teachers. So we'll have the kids in one room or one side of the room. The parents and teachers are on the other side of the room, because each activity, I want the parents to do it for themselves so that they can feel what it's like to do it for themselves and feel the difference, so that they can take it home and do it with their kids later on. And then for the kids, I just noticed as a mom of a little one too, whenever I take my son to projects or to like free, at Home Depot, they have free workshops there. And I just see how parents kind of take over the
Right.
kids' project.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want it to be like that, where for the vision board, the parent is telling their kid, oh, you should do this, or you should do that, or you should put a doctor, put a lawyer, or whatever
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
I want the kids to be able to dream what they want. And then at the very end, for example, for the vision board workshop, at the very end, the parents and the kids shared it with each other. And it was very interesting to see how the kids were really amazed and interested to see what their parents had to say. Because to them, I feel like maybe they don't hear their parents talk about it too much at home. And for them to talk about their dreams and their goals and their vision, it was really, I don't know, just really nice.
Oh
And
yeah, very
so,
nice. It's
yeah.
interesting, and what it gives the students, that's an amazing idea. What it gives the student is something they can look back on. As they grow
Mhm.
up, if they hold on to this vision board, they can say, boy, I remember when I wanted to be a astronaut. Boy, was that,
Yeah.
although they may go on and do something else, but it gives them something to really hold on to
Yeah.
and dream. I like that.
Yeah. And
Very nice.
especially if their dream is as out there as an astronaut and their parents didn't know that, maybe now they can foster that dream a little more. Like my son wants to be an NBA player, but my husband and I aren't the tallest people, but we're not letting that stop
Yeah.
him from dreaming of becoming an NBA player. And he's so obsessed with it. So we put him into a basketball league. We just have basketballs everywhere.
Yes. It
So
takes
we're
passion, not
fostering.
height.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
takes passion. Yes.
exactly.
It takes
So
passion, not height.
now that we know that, we're fostering that dream for him. And if he accomplishes it, then great. But if he doesn't, we did what we could as parents.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so is there any hope to create another journal? I have to ask this question. Is there any hope to create another journal that's more specially tailored to children? I know it's got to be in the works.
Yes. So
Okay, good.
it definitely is. It's not easy to create a physical product.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing these workshops first and then grabbing what the kids really like and putting it into a journal. For now, it might be PDFs again, just to start out. And then I'm also thinking about giving these PDFs to these teachers that I
Yes.
speak at, so that they can have it instead of creating their own. And they can have their children or their students do it every morning or take it as part of their homework before they go to bed to do it with their parents. So it's in the works, but probably not a physical book yet, just because it takes a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it does take a lot. And then just keep in mind that that even as adults, we love a physical product,
Mm-hmm.
a coloring product, sorry. So kids love
Mm-hmm.
it too.
Yes.
To put some coloring time in there. Um, oops, it's my timer. All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Now, um, you can find Leah at her website. Um, and I will put it is serenityjournalplanner.com. And I will put all of that information in her show notes page on her podcast page. You'll find all of her information there, how to contact her, her Facebook page, her Facebook group. She has the Serenity for Kids group and her Instagram page. So you will be able to find all of that information there. Thank you so much for coming, Leah. And her free gift to you is the PDF version. Am I right?
So the PDF version actually was dated for last year, so I actually changed up the gift.
Oh,
It's now my ebook. It's called the Change Your Life Challenge, and it's a 5-day challenge, just showing you these different exercises that you can do if you want to change your life starting now. So with gratitude, with intentional planning, having clarity, and creating a routine for yourself, and then the power of the people that you surround yourself with. So all of that is in the ebook, and you can sign up for it so you can grab the free ebook.
yes. And I will make sure and have the link for that as well for her free gift right in there. Um, so one of the unusual things that you said about that you told me about, because I always ask for that, is you said that blue flowers are your sign from God whenever you need guidance in anything I do. Expand on that.
Sure. So again, we'll go back to my nursing years, when I was oblivious and didn't know anything really until I realized what it meant. So back in nursing, you have to take this board exam to be able to practice as a nurse. And when I took the board exam, I went to this chapel that one of my clinical instructors told me to go to. And she said, whatever you pray in that chapel will come true in some way, some form. It might not look like the way that you think, but it will come true. So of course I went there. I prayed for 3 things. The 3 things that I prayed for, my parents were fighting a lot at the time, due to financial hardship. They had a business of their own, a restaurant, and it just wasn't going as well with the economy. So they were fighting to the point where I thought they were going to split up. And so I prayed that they would find peace within their relationship and figure things out. The second thing I prayed for was me and my husband. We come from different religious backgrounds, and there was no way that we could get married unless I converted or unless he got expelled from his church. And so I prayed for guidance in that. And I told God that if we're meant to be, then please give us guidance to go through whatever process we have to go through. And if we're not, then give us the strength to, get over it, because we've been together for 5 years. And so to just end a relationship that you don't really want to end, but might have to because of the religious beliefs. And I wasn't going to convert, and I didn't want him to convert or leave just for me. So it just seemed kind of impossible at the time. And then the last thing was I prayed for to pass my NCLEX, or my board exam. And I even wrote down my friends' names that I graduated with, my best friends. I wrote down all their names, and I prayed that they would pass as well. And then so after that, my clinical instructor said, pray for a sign. And I asked her, what do you mean, pray for a sign? I already prayed for the 3 things that you told me to pray for in the chapel. And she said, no, pray for a sign so that when you see that sign, you know you're being guided in the right path. And she said her sign was a white dove. But then for me, I didn't want to choose a white dove, because what if you see a white bird and then, it just, you're not clear if that's the sign. So I chose blue flowers because 1, it's not really common to see. And 2, blue's my favorite color. And so I just decided, okay, I'll pray for blue flowers. If I see blue flowers, then I know I'm going the right direction, or that God's guiding me, or he's with me. And so before I took my NCLEX, I didn't feel ready. I was debating to move the date. And literally before I took it, I saw 3 different sets of blue flowers.
Oh, wow.
Like physical flowers and actual like paintings of flowers, but they're blue. And most people don't paint blue flowers because it's not common or normal. So I don't know if you see the painting back there, but I painted that a while back because it just is a big thing in my life now. And then when I saw those 3 different forms of the blue flowers, I decided to stick with my test date, took my test. I passed on the first time with the minimum amount of questions, because the way that NCLEX works is you have a minimum of 75 or a maximum of 265. And you could keep going until the computer thinks you passed. And so I stopped at 75, and I started crying because I thought I failed, but I also had a good feeling about it. When I got the result, I did pass. But after that is what still gives me the chills today, is when I walked out of that test room, I closed my eyes to give a prayer of thanks. And when I closed my eyes, I literally had a vision of Jesus like hugging me and saying everything will be okay. And I kind of get emotional at this part, but every time I have a hard time, I think about that vision, because I don't think he meant everything will be okay in the terms of me passing the test. I think he knew everything I was going to go through after that. And so today, like, even though things get hard, I think of that vision, I think of the blue flowers, and I think of those words, everything will be okay.
Yes. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. And you know what? It's wonderful that you are so open-minded and so resilient, and just embracing in your Christianity to be able to pull through things. That's what I use too. I know no matter what things look like, that God has got me. And nothing can tell me otherwise,
Yes.
And so I hold on to that. And that is the thing that just really gets me through the tough times. So that no matter how tough things get. So yeah, blue flowers, nice. Woohoo. So one of your favorite quotes was, always choose to live a life you love. Why is that your favorite quote?
Because growing up, I always lived the life everybody wanted for me. So I became a nurse. I'm Filipino by background, and it's stereotypical for Filipinos to become a nurse. That's just that's
Oh,
just how that's
okay.
just how it is in our culture. If you want to be successful, then you become a nurse. So growing up, my whole family, they wanted to be a nurse as well in the Philippines, but they couldn't afford the tuition. So they ended up being businessmen and businesswomen, and just to make ends meet back there. So every time I heard that story, it kind of engraved in me that I should become a nurse so that I can continue what my family wanted to continue when they didn't have the opportunity to. Um,
Oh, gotcha.
Ever since I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a doctor actually. And then I did a bunch of volunteering work in high school and realized how much doctors have to be on
Yeah.
call and their schooling and all that. And I didn't want to take that away from the future family I wanted to create. And so I said, okay, I'll just be a nurse then. At least I'll just have to work 3 days a week and then have my family time. So it was just, that career path was just kind of paved and chosen for me in a sense. And I wasn't really living the life that I wanted to live. Granted, I didn't really know what that was at the time. I was just
Right.
going with the flow and choosing. So now I really love that quote, to truly live the way you want to live, the way you love, because it also affects your mindset. It also affects your health. If you're
Yes.
going to work every day and you hate it, then eventually you're going to manifest symptoms that, your body is breaking down because you literally hate what you do every day. And so
Yeah.
that's why I love that quote, and I live by that quote now. I actually quit my nursing job in August.
Oh,
So
nice.
just recently, also with the sign of blue flowers and everything, because I was so hesitant. I thought I would keep it just for security purposes and all of that stuff. But
Hmm.
um, I quit because I don't know, just it didn't feel in alignment anymore with what I was doing.
That's a huge step. Yeah. Congratulations. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Leah. I really appreciate it. We're about to end this. This has been amazing. I've learned so much, as I always do from my guests. If you will, before you leave, can you give my audience one action tip, one thing that they can put into place today and improve their mindset?
Sure. So the one thing I would say to start with is gratitude, really. If you're not doing it already, just as soon as you wake up in the morning, just think of 3 things you're grateful for before you even touch the floor or
Yes.
before you even do anything. And then at nighttime, before you go to bed, reflect on your day and think of 3 things that you're grateful for that happened that day. And it takes at least for our minds to see something 300 times before we actually believe it. And so if you continue to say that you're grateful for your life when in actuality everything in your life is going wrong, but you're trying to find things that you're grateful for, what you focus on again is what you find. And so when you see it multiple times subconsciously, you'll start to believe it, you'll start to take actions toward it. And so I think gratitude really is the one thing that can change your life and increase your vibration, increase your energy, just increase everything that is going on, even if right now things don't look the greatest.
Awesome. That was a great tip. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do that already in the morning and at night. Gratitude.
Yes.
Definitely, because it's good to reflect on the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So nice.
It is.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Leah, thank you for coming on my show. It's great having you.
And thank you for having me. It was such an honor, and I just love everything that you stand for too. So I appreciate your time and for having me.
You are so welcome. Audience, thank you for being here and listening. And remember to like, comment, and share on this episode. And we will see you next time on Inspired Women, Amazing Lives. Bye. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast. Until we meet again, I urge you as an inspired woman to seek out ways to inspire and lead the other women in your circle. Please share this episode with another woman that you would love to inspire or someone who has inspired you. Feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, and remember, always thrive, inspire, lead.